Hi guys, I'm gonna present on reading Lolita in Tehran. It's by Azar Nafisi. It's a really popular book. It was a New York Times bestseller, and you guys might have heard of it. I don't know. It's Azar Nafisi. She's written a few other books. She's just an Iranian writer and an intellectual. And the book has received a lot of support and acclaim, but it's also sparked some controversy. A lot of people got upset with her book, and so there's a lot of stuff online about that if you're interested. But basically, the book is a memoir of her personal experiences as a teacher and a woman in Iran, and it kind of documents her story. She's a teacher who forms a book club, and she forms a book club with these seven other Iranian students who are all women. And they get together and they read and talk about Western novels, and it's a pretty interesting idea for a book and for a book club. It's a really nice juxtaposition between the West and the East, so it's nice. Okay, so it's organized into 4 sections, so I'll just go through the plot just a little bit, and then I can answer the questions. So it's Lolita, Gatsby, James, and Austen. So it's obviously organized by the books that they're reading. They read a lot, but those are kinds of the ones she focuses on. So in the first section, they're reading Lolita, and she starts by characterizing her students and kind of setting the tone for the story. And they're reading Lolita in An Invitation to a Beheading. And they kind of explore the literary world of a totalitarian society, and they easily compare it to their life as women in Iran. So in the second section, it's Gatsby, and Nafisi jumps backwards in time. She had been living abroad for a while, and so this section talks about her return to Iran after the revolution and kind of her disappointment. And they also, it was really interesting, they talked about Gatsby and his kind of unattainable dream in life, and they connect that to a lot of the Iranian people's dream for the revolution and their hopes for it and their disappointment in the outcome. So that was interesting. The third section, that was kind of my favorite one. It talks a lot about Nafisi's personal choices as a teacher and as a woman. And a lot of times she has like this turmoil because she feels hypocritical and she feels lost in this world. She doesn't really know where she belongs. So that's an interesting one. And in the last one, they're reading Pride and Prejudice, and it talks a lot specifically about the problems that Iranian women are facing, specifically like women, divorce rights, custody battles, the mandatory veil, etc. So it focuses a lot on the self-respect and self-image of Iranian women, so that's interesting. Okay, so I now answer the questions. So I think she aims to kind of remove some of the stigma that surrounds Iranian women, kind of talk about it, get it out in the open. And she also, it's kind of a unique kind of window into Iranian women because it's discussing them in like the hidden from the public. So it's an interesting dynamic. And I think she uses this to make, obviously, a statement about the Islamic Republic of Iran and how they treat women. So I would say her main argument is that Iranian law and government makes it impossible for women there to like live their lives peacefully, and it's entirely oppressive towards women. I think it's pretty clear that's what she's saying. She weaves a few other ideas into this general umbrella idea. I think she's can kind of be perceived as pro-Western. I don't know, that's how I saw it. Because a lot of times it seems like she's saying that these women use these Western novels as an escape. So it kind of seems like it's a good thing. So that could be kind of controversial. I see where some of that comes from. And so she kind of compares the repression of Iran with like what appears to be like a highly liberalized and limitless Western world. So that's it. How is the argument structured? So she structures it entirely based on personal experiences and these personal anecdotes from these women. And I think the stories are very effective. it's not only it's about her personal life as a teacher and as a woman, and like all these different stories from these various young women and young students are just they're really interesting to read, and it all weaves together really nicely with this comparison of the books that they're reading. So I think she does that very purposely, and it's pretty effective. So I would say, I guess that's the answer to number 4. How convincing would I find it? I think if I approach this with no prior knowledge of Iran and of the Middle Eastern culture and of their treatment of women, I think it would have been very convincing. I think this is the kind of book that if you have nothing to go on before it, it can kind of completely make your perception of a culture. So I think not knowing anything else about a woman's life in Iran, I think it only presents oppression, and it doesn't give you any other angle into their life. So, which kind of leads us to the last question: any blind spots or faulty thinking? I don't know if she purposely was. I think she's being pretty purposefully biased. We talked about in class about the cover. It's it's these two women looking down and it's cut off, but it looks like kind of like they're looking at something. They're like leaning close together, and it kind of seems like it's something really forbidden that they're reading. But we saw the actual picture in class, and it's them reading a newspaper. So that's kind of like a marketing strategy. I don't know. And then also, it paints all women in Iran as helpless and oppressed. And I think it really glorifies the Western liberalized policies. It glorifies it. And what else? I think it can reinforce some of the stereotypes about the Middle East, some of which may be true, but she presents a pretty one-sided view of it, so I think it's kind of dangerous. And I was online looking at some of the other criticisms, and a lot of people thought, not a lot, but some people thought that she was making a statement about in support of U.S. intervention in Iran and Iraq. So I don't know if I would go that far. She denounced this claim, but I could see why people might think that, because it's pretty clearly pro-Western and anti-Iranian, at least in their treatment of women, but generally more in the entire government structure. So yeah, okay. Sorry, that was long. But would I suggest this book? I think I'd only suggest it to people who have done their research and know a little bit more and aren't just looking to read a book where they can reinforce their stereotypes or create new biases. So